So then you get entered even more and more into more raffles depending on how many purchases you make. Back to you.
And I love raffles. Thank
Yes.
you, Erica.
You bet.
Stick around. Coming up next, protests continue in Portland and across the country in response to the grand jury decision in Ferguson. These are live pictures in Portland. We break down the shooting timeline, which happened in less than a minute. That's when our live team coverage continues. Well, it looks like we're seeing it's not quite as peaceful as we've seen earlier.
Police have moved in here now. And it looks like they're trying to stop these demonstrators from moving. What's that, Paul? They're on the Morrison Bridge, we're being told now by our director, Paul.
Can you hear me?
Kenny. Yeah, Pat,
like
is that you?
Can you hear me?
Is that Mike Benner?
Go ahead, Mike, we can hear you.
Hey, I'm here, guys. We're here right at the base of the Morrison Bridge, and things have getting a little rowdy here as we see police officers with riot gear. There's been a little contact between protesters and rioters, or excuse me, protesters and police. There you go, right there. It is getting a little violent here. Oh, my cameraman just went down. Stand by here. Stand by here. Stand by here. I'm holding the camera here. My photog has just gone down. Stay with us. He's up. If you're still with us here, again, we're at the base of the Morrison. Things were very, very, very peaceful for the majority of this afternoon, but about a half hour ago, there was a number of protesters who broke off from the crowd and went on their own march, and it has come to a head here at the base of the Morrison Bridge. We have officers in riot gear and now a loudspeaker trying to make out what they're trying to say. They say they need to vacate the roadway. Again, this started out as a peaceful march around 4 o'clock. The Urban League involved in the planning of this. And within the last half hour or so, things have taken a turn. And it's come to a head here at the base of the Morrison Bridge. We have more officers arriving on motorcycles right now. And now protesters have continued down Southwest 2nd. There's still a few protesters here trying to taunt the officers, but the officers are staying their ground.
I'm just guessing now that police are probably trying to make sure they contain this group of demonstrators on the west side right now and not allow them passage across the bridge.
There is probably a handful of people that are still back here with police, but it seemed like that has calmed down now. And again, this crowd is moving, and I think, as you said, Joe, and this is just a guessing game at this point, that they're trying to get onto the east side, and police are trying to stop that from happening. We're on Burnside right now, heading over to the east side, and the police officers are urging protesters that the street is open to vehicular traffic. Here's this blue car here. It's the lead car going from the westbound to the east side, and it cannot get through the traffic of all these protesters here. And again, officers reminding protesters that this bridge is open to traffic, but at this point, they're not really listening. Sergeant Pete Simpson's walking along with us. I'm going to try to bring him in here live with us as we walk. Pete, kind of describe, what can you tell us is happening right now? What is your strategy?
Well, we're following some marchers eastbound on Burnside. Things have been largely peaceful. This is a secondary march that really isn't a part of the main demonstration from earlier. It seems to be dwindling as people walk farther.
Talk about your thinking process when you guys bring out the riot gear. Do you think that kind of incites the crowd, or is it just something you guys have to do, your backs are against the wall?
Well, it definitely can. Right now we have a crowd on the west side that started blocking the Morrison Bridge. We cleared that out pretty quickly. Now folks are marching along. We've got our horses out, a lot of bike officers, and I don't know of any reports of any real problems other than the traffic jams that are following it.
This is where the protesters have congregated now after making it across the bridge. And what I'm noticing is two very different types of protesters. Sort of like last night, we saw the ones who wanted to be very quiet and the ones who want to make a lot of noise. And right now we're seeing the protesters who want to disrupt traffic. And then we're seeing some who are saying, hey, to the other protesters, back off, let these drivers through. They've done nothing wrong. You're the one that started this this group of protesters going in this direction. Tell me the other reason behind it.
Well, we kind of felt like we got robbed, you know. This is the night to take the streets, and instead there was a lot of singing and a lot of marching for no reason. And so the people were just mad, like everybody did it. It wasn't just like me, it was everybody was angry and they were just tired.
Do you not think that the rally from 4 till 6 or 6:15 did the trick tonight?
That was like just a bunch of people giving speeches so they could hear themselves talk. These are the same people that met with the city leadership behind the scenes in advancement of this to castrate this action.
We have the incoming police chief, Larry O'Day, who has joined our Pat Doris now, and Pat's going to be able to talk with him. Pat?
Yes, guys, it's a unique opportunity. Incoming chief, congratulations, and you're sharing the burden today. What's happening? What are you folks doing? Let's talk police first.
Tonight's been a great event for us. This work for us started many weeks and months ago, working with community leaders, police leadership, working with community leadership, all of us working with partners and people we've had relationships for a while, helping to plan for when this day came to help it be a safe and productive event.
Just to answer some of your questions to Mark as far as how are drivers handling this, you know, it's a mixed bag, really. There are some that you can just tell by the look on their face they are frustrated and they want to get home or to wherever they're headed right now. But then you have some folks who are honking their horns and taking cell phone pictures and cell phone videos and understand that, you know, this is, in a sense, a part of history, whether it's here in Portland or across the country. I'm going to send it back to you momentarily. Things get a little hectic in this corner, so stay with us here.
Okay. Mike, thanks. If we can maybe stay with Mike's picture here, see what he's talking about. Because
just reach out and hit someone.
we're seeing it.
Someone's getting hit here in a car. Someone's getting hit. He's getting out. He's getting out. This is, hold on here. We need some police. Another sort of clash here, just south of Southeast Pine on Grand. People telling this driver to get back in the car and get on his way before more trouble happens.
I saw it. We all saw it.
Kind of looking for police officers here, but we don't see anyone. There's just about 25 or 30 protesters that have surrounded this white car. I think he's trying to get on the phone with police right now.
What led up to that? Did you see, Mike, what happened?
Well, it was right when I was trying to send it back to you guys because things were getting a little hectic. I was in the middle of the road. There was a lot of honking, but it would appear that that there was some sort of exchange with the driver. He was sitting in his driver's seat, and someone initially reached in and punched him. Then he punched back, and there was a bit of a dispute between those two here.
So we see that it looks like one of the protesters in that white jacket reached in.
Sounds like he's looking to call police, and he might actually. I'm trying to see. It looks like he actually might have some blood here. Let me ask if we can see what happened. Sir,
attacked on my card.
Can we ask you what happened?
No, get on my face.
Appears that he doesn't want to talk as far as what happened, but he is reporting it to dispatch. It sounds right now. And here's actually Sergeant Pete Simpson is on scene. Happens to be walking down the street, so he's going to file a report with Sergeant Simpson. But it seems that this gentleman here, this driver, has a bloody nose from a brief exchange with protesters. This is the sort of stuff that police don't want to see, and it's certainly the sort of stuff that the organizers of the earlier demonstration do not want to see.
Protesters now kind of around the police vehicle, some of them kind of pounding the side of it. The mounted patrol kind of flanking them on one side. Demonstrators continue past. Didn't seem to stop right here with police. Oh, here come the mounted patrol. They're moving in at the moment. It appears to try to cut off this crowd as they continue to march. We're kind of midstream here, midway back. We're trying to work our way up front, but there are a lot of folks here. Things certainly starting to liven up at the moment. The crowd really kind of elevating their voice. Oh, now they're splitting off. Looks like some of them are splitting off eastbound here. Nope. They're continuing. We'll work our way up towards the front right here. You guys can see the mounted patrol up here. It appears police are kind of trying to take a stand right here for the moment. Several officers on their bikes as well getting off. Again, seemingly to make a stand at this one location. I'm trying to see a street sign. I don't know exactly where we're at, essentially under the freeway at the moment. Here comes our cameraman walking off on the side. Oh, there goes the gentleman right there. He just hopped over into the freeway right there. You can see him. Oh. If we pan our camera to the right here, John, we can see folks. In the freeway right there.
Will you give us a locator again,
so that's
Mark?
Certainly what police told. You know, I'm pretty sure right under the Markham Bridge, we just came down Southeast Stark, heading westbound towards downtown Portland, crossed the tracks, kind of in the industrial area. It looks like officers in our area just used some pepper spray in the moment, and so inhaling some of that to try to disperse the crowd. But again, people are jumping into the highway, into the freeway right behind us here. So that's certainly a potentially dangerous situation at the moment. And cops are kind of trying to hold their line right here. We just saw them use pepper spray to try to tell protesters, demonstrators to get back, to try to keep them off the freeway. But folks just keep breaking off. I mean, there's hundreds of demonstrators, so it's really difficult for police to block everybody off. But again, the freeway traffic at our location completely blocked because demonstrators are literally in the freeway. And police are telling them to get back on the sidewalk, but obviously folks are not listening. Up ahead, we can see members of the mounted patrol in this direction. Again, trying to keep folks off the freeway, as well as officers on foot. Oh, here goes somebody rocking a police motorcycle. Oh, that didn't fall over. But yeah, certainly a tense. Oh, here we go. Up on our left, someone just knocked over a police bureau motorcycle right there. So that just happened. Police, I can hear behind me on the loudspeaker now, loud hailing people to clear the area and get off the sidewalks. But it's kind of all unfolding all around us. You know, it's very difficult for police to, I guess you call it, contain this group of people kind of scattering off in all directions. Again, folks in the freeway, folks on the street, blocking traffic on the freeway. We just saw them knock over a police motorcycle as well. And we did back there a short time ago see officers use pepper spray in an attempt to disperse the crowd, but of course that's not working. Now we come up here on our left. We're going to walk up here, guys. Look at all these folks on the freeway right now. They're literally jumping the barrier onto the freeway. Now they're walking against traffic on the freeway at the moment. Kind of a surreal scene here, but they effectively shut down traffic. We can see police right behind them here trying to tell folks to clear the freeway. Now giving the command to hold. So it appears right now, guys, they're kind of trying to establish a line right here and trying to keep the protesters from advancing any farther up the freeway. You can hear behind me in their truck loud hailing them as well, telling the folks not to go on the freeway, telling them to move off the freeway. Now we see officers near the barrier here on their bikes trying to keep folks off the freeway. Behind me, the officer in the truck is loud hailing the people saying, you will be arrested. I'll let you guys kind of listen to maybe some of the interaction if you can, guys, and just feel free to chime in at any moment.
And we appreciate the commentary, Mark. It certainly is a tense scene there and riveting to have followed it along for almost the last hour. It would appear that this is no longer organized and going in any particular direction. Would you agree with that? Are the marchers going off in different ways, in different directions, not all in one area?
Yeah, Laurel, I mean, we did see a handful of them kind of break off initially and head back east, but then members of the larger group were telling them to return. So it appears the majority of the group is still here in this location. And again, trying to deal with several folks who are on the freeway. Officers now have formed a line. They're making a stand. They're trying to keep folks off the freeway. They're trying to block demonstrators from getting up the freeway any farther. It appears some of the crowd is receptive to that. Others are not. We're going to go ahead right now and send it over to my colleague, Mike Benner, for the very latest on the situation where he's at.
Or you will be arrested. Do not.
Hey there, Mark. I'm a little further down water from where you are. We're right next to the big police van asking protesters to continue down water. We're going to move in here. You can can see the bike officers here trying to push these protesters away from the freeway ramp. And there's a heated exchange here between officers right now.
Or you will be arrested.
Again, they are asking protesters to continue southbound on Water, or they will be arrested if they move on to the freeway. This is the last thing that Portland police wanted to deal with tonight, was protesters trying to get onto the freeway. Now it looks like an officer may have slapped the camera out of someone's hand up here.
Please move south on Water. Portland Police Bureau.
A heated exchange here on Water. Looks like he is pulling out his flashlight, shining it in these protesters' eyes.
Enter the freeway. Portland Police Bureau. Move south on Water on the sidewalk.
They're urging these protesters to continue southbound on Water. This guy a little upset here.
He hit me with the bike.
Stay away from the camera, sir.
Do not enter the highway. It's extremely
Police are trying to get a handle on this thing here. There's still a big group of protesters up along the barrier that are behind the officers right now.
This is the Portland Police Bureau. Do not enter the highway or you will be arrested.
And I'm trying to actually see our exact location. Right now, we are under the on-ramp from 84 to I-5
Will be arrested.
northbound. Or it appears to be one of the ramps actually from the east side of Portland. Anyway, it looks like there's a protester down the ground here. Not exactly sure what happened up here, but appears to be a protester being surrounded by others. This could be a peaceful demonstration on their end. We've noticed throughout the evening that at points there'll be protesters who just sit down and cross their legs.
Move away from the highway.
A peaceful demonstration.
And we can see,
They're
Mike, as you're
asking
talking.
these few to move on.
We want you to continue your commentary for us, Mike, but as we do, we just want to let people know and let you know, we're looking at Sky 8 pictures right now of the freeway with cars stopped on the freeway, and it looks to be a handful of protesters standing their ground in front of the cars. Is that what you're seeing,
Yeah,
Joe?
clearly, and then you just saw a car zip by on the shoulder there, almost hitting one of the protesters in the middle of the highway, and this is what everyone worries about. And, you know, the sad thing is, I mean, we see this, and these folks on the freeway there, you know, are put in a situation where, you know, these folks want to make their point, and everyone understands, and many of them certainly agree with their message. But it's the tactics that tend to cause problems with folks who are now blocking an entire freeway to make their point. This is the way they see of doing it. For those of you heading out and around downtown tonight, just be aware that we have some major issues going on. From the traffic standpoint, from the freeway I-84 to the Markham Bridge, which is now closed, and the Morrison Bridge as well. Okay. Here's the Markham Bridge. Is
that the backup?
That's the backup. You can see the headlights. That's obviously I-5 heading northbound toward I-84, where it's backed up by protesters.
So Markham Bridge closed, Morrison Bridge closed, and also we're told TriMet passengers are going to expect delays because bus service is being disrupted as well.
Just below the bridge here, you have a lot of protesters walking around with their hands up. You have officers engaging, protesters engaging with officers. You know, what you do is the officers in riot gear are the ones that are lining the highway. That's the last line of defense, if you will, or it appears so to me. And then you have mounted officers in front of them, and then in front of the mounted officers, you have officers on bicycles.
Again, we heard them moments ago saying, if you try to get on the freeway, we're going to arrest you. And it seems like this is kind of where they're setting up to try to corral this group and keep them from getting onto the freeway and disrupting traffic, and number two, putting themselves in danger.
Back behind me, you can see how they've set up a line of bicycle officers here, pushing these demonstrators back onto the sidewalk. They've been requesting them to do so for quite some time through these loudspeakers, and now they've taken position to try and keep these individuals on the sidewalk. At this point, it appears that these demonstrators are following those requests.
Things have significantly, or considerably rather, calmed down here on Southeast Water. Again, right now, officers are standing on the west side of the street, and all the protesters and the media are on the east side.
The large crowd that we saw out here maybe 15, 20 minutes ago, the majority of them, after being told to get off the street, did indeed do so. Those that didn't, it appears, were arrested. Maybe 2, maybe 3 of them. And at this point, the majority of the crowd has left, and now police seem to be clearing out a little bit as well.